Hi everyone. Okay, I have to admit I'm still a bit nervous because I just got here like 10 minutes ago, and it's very, very hard to follow what Cheryl just said. So, but seriously, very, very inspiring. Big round of applause for Cheryl again. So nervousness times 2 right now, but it's okay. That's good. So, as the MC mentioned, I am I'm the editor and executive producer of the team called R.AGE. And basically what we do is stuff like this. And it should play. Right about now. And it's not working. And we're going to try again. Magic. Okay. I'll just stall for now then. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys, you guys hear me? No? Okay. I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many of you guys like movies? Hands up. Movies. Awesome. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, Marvel has done wonders, so everyone. How many of you guys like music? Okay, we're gonna go down a bit more niche, alright? How many of you guys like sports? Okay, that's still a pretty decent amount. Okay, any Manchester United followers here? That's usually a crowd pleaser. That always works. Okay, what kind of crowd is this? I blame Manchester City. They're ruining the whole game. Hey, sorry, you clearly have strong feelings against Manchester United. What team do you support? So see. Oh, yeah. It's up to you. How many of you like journalism? Okay, good. So I know what I have to work with today. Alright, so by the end of this talk, what I'm going to try to do is convince you about the value of journalism. And this is a great, actually this response is a bit better because I think we're at UM, right? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So this is UM, the best of the best. That's why a lot of you guys are interested. Yes. Okay, now I can go back to my normal voice. Okay. So, journalism, I love the topic of the day, the theme of this talk, where I stand. And this is where I stand today as a journalist in modern Malaysia. We are often degraded, demeaned, unappreciated. If you ask me, of course, I have a vested interest. But anyway, hopefully the video works now. Sorry, come again? It works now, yay, okay. That is the audio. And now we'll have the video. I'm just gonna stand here awkwardly. I've used up all my time wasting tactics. We got it, alright.
Lima orang jalan tu. So probably the elephants that are responsible for rampaging through the village that we were at earlier. Untuk mendengar sini, pengguna akan melihat lebih banyak. I cannot see either way. Oh,
Before the single goal and enable the people nearby function and data.
The sort of phrase very much. So it's an expiry date.
So this is what R.AGE does, undercover work, investigative work. And I think what's really unique about our team is that all of us are under the age of 30. So I've managed to, I don't know how I got so lucky, but I managed to put together a team of journalists below 30, all were committed to doing investigative undercover journalism, and you won't see that anywhere else in the world. Malaysia, that's why we've won so many awards all over the world, because fellow speaker started it, so I'm going to return the favor later. Yeah. And that's the reason why. By empowering young people with the power of journalism to do these kinds of projects, to go on to investigate and to really bring change. So that's what R.AGE is about, and that's what has set ourselves apart from all the other news portals around the world. So we've gone to award ceremonies where it's like the New York Times, the Guardian, and all these big names, and this tiny little team called R.AGE is winning. And that's what I feel we're very fortunate to be able to do. But today, I don't just want to come here and tell you my story. It's actually much more boring than it sounds. I want to leave you guys with something called the magical 5-word headline. So this is an advice that we give to a lot of young writers. When they come back, after they go out for an assignment, they go out and do their investigating, whatever, they come back to us, we ask them, before we're about to go to print, tell me your story in 5 words. What is your 5-word headline? Okay, and the reason why we do this is, for example, I'm just showing you guys a few historical headlines, give you an idea. The reason why we have to have it in less than 5 words used to be because there's just no space, right? So can you guys guess when this paper is from? Sorry? Clearly after World War I. This is World War I, so this is like 1918. So printing technology back then is not so great, right? You can't print tons and tons of pages. Nowadays, you have a piece of the star, you can take it and throw it at a dog, the dog will probably die. Okay, but last time, printing was very difficult, right? They have to arrange the plates. Every single alphabet had to rearrange the metal plates. Then only you start printing. So space was at a premium. Your stories always had to be able to be summed up in a short headline, something like this. Or something like this. You start to see the pattern. Never more than 5 words. Men walk on moon. That's it. Something a bit closer to home. And this is actually quite recent. This is, of course, a tsunami, I think, 2006. And you can see that trend still exists. Less than 5 words your headline. Okay. This one is a bit more different. It has a slight angle already, right? The first 3, right, if you notice, they're kind of headlines that write themselves, right? The man walks on moon. You can't really change that, right? That's the news. This is a headline that has a slight angle, and this I'm going to explain a bit more later when we dive a bit deeper into this concept of 5-word headline. It doesn't just say Marilyn Monroe dies. It takes a slightly more specific approach. They're hinting towards suicide, right? You guys kind of got that as well, right? Blame the pills that she was taking. Another example, this one, headline writes itself. Titanic sinks, 1,500 people die. 4 words. This one, same story, different angle. You see? So back then, probably the editor asked, give me your 5-word headline, and said, I want to focus on this. Band played till end. Do you guys know the story? You guys watch Titanic? Okay, fine. I have to explain that. Okay, so why do we do it? Number one, it helps the writers find their angle. So with every kind of topic, for example, even the sinking of the Titanic, those are usually headlines that write themselves, right? You can't really change too much. But that writer, whoever wrote that second headline that says "Band played till end," he decided to take that specific angle. There are so many ways you can write about it. You can write about the safety issues. You can write about the technology that was in play at the time. You can write about the survivors and what trauma they went through. But they picked a specific angle. So this trick, when we ask our journalists to think, what is your 5-word headline? It makes them focus, helps them find their angle. Yeah, and also when you're actually writing the story, you start to see that you're focused. Everything else that is not important, you start to cut out. Because that's the way journalism works. When you come look at a newspaper, you have so limited space. You can only use what is the most important, what is actually newsworthy. So having a 5-word headline at the start, tell yourself, I'm writing about the band that played till the end. The whole story is going to focus more on that than anything else. Somebody wants to write about safety issues, let that person write about it. That's their angle. That's their 5-word headline. And it challenges them to be concise. Think short and sweet. Right? In an era where we have so much information, journalists are under more and more pressure to keep their stories very short and sweet. So this is what I like to call journalistic thinking. There's been a trend recently called design thinking, right? Where you think like a design engineer. You go through that whole process of developing a product, you prototype it, you test it with your audience. Design thinking. Well, I like to be a proponent. I'm trying to propose something new. I'm trying to make it a thing. Journalistic thinking. So challenge yourself always to think like a journalist with that 5-word headline idea. So why do that? Journalists, before we ever come to that point where we think about our idea, about our 5-word headline, there's always research. There's always this point of 3 to 4 months. Like the project that they were telling you all about, Predator on My Phone. Do you all know that it took us 6 months just to release the first story? 6 months of non-stop work. There was a period, especially the 2 to 3 weeks before we launched it, we were literally meeting a child sex predator every night. And some nights there were 2 or 3 of them on the same night. We had a really, really bad joke at the time. We were saying it was like speed dating for predators. We were meeting one guy and we were like, okay, we gotta go. The next guy is in another restaurant somewhere else waiting for us. But there's a lot of research that goes into every headline that you read. So, think like a journalist. Go through that process first. And as you think like a journalist, having that idea of a 5-word headline focuses you as well. So, for example, okay, I'm going to give some examples. And of course, there's something that we always train ourselves to do as journalists, which is to think objectively and fairly. So sometimes, even if you have all the set of facts, after you've done all your research, being able to think objectively is actually a skill sometimes, It's something that you have to train yourself constantly over and over again to do. So, you can have all the facts. You can be focusing, but you could be focusing on the wrong thing because there is a bias in your head. So, this is how journalistic thinking actually formed what R.AGE came to be. And I'm going to show you guys the first documentary that we produced and some of the mistakes that we made. So this is it. Thanks this time. Great.
Dekat sini ada tahun lepas ni. Dua tempat. Oh, dua apa, 4 dah itu. Oh, 4 apa, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 juga kat tempat tu. Cucu saya situ dengan 1. Ini ayah dia. Ini 2. Anak 1. Main lah. Meninggal yang kanan ni juga lah macam kawan ni.
There's a company that was passed today. Kajai Award. You better go check it out. This is the site of the grave of young Malini who passed away yesterday morning, 6 in the morning. So this was one of our very first R.AGE documentaries, our first step into investigative work. Our team spent I think over a week living with the indigenous people, deep in the forest. No phone, telephone line, no signal. Nearest hospital is like 3 hours away. Nearest civilization is 2 hours plus away. And they came back with an incredible story. They estimate about 200 or 300 children have died in the past 2 years. And nobody knew about it. We spoke to the government after that. Not a single death recorded. Even though some of the orang asli could show us the death certificate. But in official records, it didn't show. So we released the story, created a big fuss. Everybody was saying the government needs to do something about it. And we were quite happy. That's usually where the role of the journalist ends. We've exposed the issue. We've educated the people about it. And we moved on. But after that, when we realized this, when we started publishing this content online, we see a lot of young Malaysians commenting on our videos and saying, what can we do now? You've told us what the problem is, but you can't just leave me hanging like this, right? So that's something that we get every time we show this video. So for our next project, this was the 5-word headline. Preying on our teens. I think I could have wrote, this wasn't I would have wrote a better one. Predators preying on our teens, 5 words. You guys both put the word predator in there, right? But anyway, so when we released this story, we wanted to learn from the lesson of our previous documentary, which is the one you just saw. We told ourselves we have to make sure that there is an end goal. We have to make sure that the people can get involved somehow. So as journalists, we no longer just start bringing up problems, but we also offer solutions. So this is the documentary.
Photoman has been chatting with me for the past week, and he's arranged to meet with me today. He hasn't said anything explicitly sexual until yesterday. He thinks that I'm alone at my aunt's house right now, and he's coming over to hang out.
So auntie stay here.
She later got function, so she asked me to help Jaga.
So you go to tuition as well.
Go tuition here by online.
So every Tuesday you will come here and so parents go where? Parents.
I had for holiday.
So that means every Tuesday you will come here and stay here to catch you lah.
She very loving one.
Have you ever before?
How come you ask her?
Yeah, sure. Actually for me, masturbate is very normal. It's not, it's normal thing. Actually, I don't mind. I don't force people because I don't have. I know what you're thinking. You have to mind now. I walk or get the one more today. I don't force you to do this kind of thing. Maybe not in going to the sex. Like
Oh, like actually.
second is maybe is it like
Oh.
no, because you don't mind people just relax and maybe do anything.
If I tell you I don't feel comfortable to go into the house,
I don't know. Yeah, I know you as a friend, maybe like a sister.
So for this project, we made sure that there would be that line at the end. We gave people a solution. So we applied again, that idea of the 5-word headline. How can we find a solution? Okay, so this is beyond journalism really. This is beyond just finding a headline to fit into that space. But our solution was simple. Laws against grooming. Actually, you can replace the word cops. It was actually R.AGE once, laws against grooming. And the police were just kind of like, yes, we want that too. So, yeah. So that's kind of, let's skip this part because I have very little time now. So I think the main thing I want to leave you guys with today is that process of thinking like a journalist. It might be a bit self-serving for me to say stuff like that because I'm a journalist, but as objectively as possible, I want all young people to realize this, that there's power in asking questions. There's power in not accepting things for face value. Research, investigate, and understand. There's power in being informed. Right? Don't just take any kind of information, try to get as much of balanced viewpoints as possible, and make sure that you know you're informed. And there's power in doing good. So these are the three things that kind of formed R.AGE, the kind of background that went into the creation of R.AGE. Yeah. And I don't have time for this video already, sorry. Okay. So, wrap up, magical 5-word headline. Why think like a journalist? Yeah, because journalists thinking is important. What's wrong with journalism today, which I skipped. Remember the power of journalism. I just wanted to end on this very nice note that all of those are actually 5-word headlines. Thank you very much.